Hello and welcome to this review of hydraulic oil degradation in a Negribossi VG370. Historically clean, cloudy when the oil was cold but clear when the oil was properly warmed. We began to see the cloudiness come back after the oil change. Nothing in the oil sample result is showing anything to be concerned about particularly. A bit of aeration happened in the May sample for the first time, but still fairly clean, however, the first sign of a wear metal. What I want to show you here is how this sample was created by leaving it at an angle for quite some period of time. This brown debris dropped out, and you can see that as we've rotated this away from being at the bottom, it hasn't moved. This brown stuff is stuck to the inside of the bottle. It wouldn't come out when we tried it with a syringe. We had to agitate it in the end and then suck it up into the syringe and leave that for a couple of days. And this is now what's of interest. These stripes here are that brown particulate. The submicronic, they have size, but they are not dissolved, but you can't see them individually, only when you see them in mass. We've moved here to the edge of the oil droplet so we can see things a little bit clearer at 200 times magnification. So each of these gaps is 10 microns, so you can get an idea of the size of some of these these droplets, for up to 40 micron, down to 5, probably about right. We did some varnish potential testing. Between 3 and 4, the difference was just the temperature it was processed through to see if there's a significant difference in the colour. Marginal change, but there is definitely potential for varnish within this oil. And you can see there's very few, but there are particulates here. It's very small, not very many. The oil is relatively clean. The important part here is that the oil had been settling for a few days and was now cold, so anything that was going to drop out would drop out and fall. So this would be very representative of the problems that we're looking for. So you have these larger pieces that contain many smaller pieces. It's noted that a lot of these carbonized particles are within the droplets. I think once they get in, they get stuck in, but they do exist outside as well. You can see here that there are different types of colours here, which does suggest there are two different aspects of the original fluid that are being dropped out. Really beginning to see inside now. It does look almost cellular, but it's certainly not organic. These are not, there's nothing inside these, so it's not a biological cell. You can see the clusters of the darker fluid containing the smaller particles, and again you can see the difference in colour. You can see all of these other aspects inside this outer piece, what's holding all of that together. This is a larger piece of that brown debris at the bottom. What's interesting is you can see the lighter particles, the lighter wax element, shall we call it, stuck inside the darker, and then we have the darker on the outside as well, the darker within the lighter. So again, you can see the size of these particles. It's down sub 3 micron, but you have all these gelatinous bubbles within the larger. Here you can see that this is about 50 microns, but it's also got smaller bubbles and smaller particles within it. The roof is full of either wear metals or fragments of varnish, lacquer. What you're seeing here is a lot of rounded wear metals and fragmented, so it does look like some kind of bearing is failing. Just to give you an idea of these lacquer flakes, That's 1.5 millimeters, 2 millimeters long, so there's no reason why the suction strainer should be so clean if these flakes are inside the tank. We're seeing these bubbles inside the lacquer, from the small up to the size. So whatever we were seeing in the fluid is also contained within the lacquer aspect as well. So we're now trying to understand how this oil is degrading. We've got the powder at the beginning, we've got the non-rounded gelatinous particle, we've got the rounded waxy particles, which are the dark brown and the light brown. We've got this microcosm, macrocosm aspect. We need to understand what's going on within this oil so that we don't have any of these failures in the future. We need to understand why it goes this way. Why is the other machine in the factory not suffering anything like this? And if we have to put a new pump in, how do we make sure we're not looking at the same problem in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time with this new pump? Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.